Welcome to 4D Selling. Learn how to sell in 7 effective steps. In this course, I'm going to share with you a 7-step selling system that will allow you to take a prospect by the hand and guide them through the sale. In the first step of this customer journey, you'll learn the importance of lead generation and how you can outreach more effectively through a multi-touch approach. Because there's no customers, no revenue, no profit, no business without sales, and all sales begin with a lead. Crucially, we'll move into the next step of the selling process, which has the purpose of getting people to like you, trust you, and want to listen to you. This is where we are first introduced to the concept of 4D selling, and how by simply adapting our approach to better suit the predominant personality style of our prospect, we can become all things to all people. The value proposition step gives us a platform to showcase our value and show how we're different from everybody else, because there's a golden rule in sales that says in the absence of value, price becomes the issue. So if the client doesn't see the value in you or your proposal, you're always going to get beaten up in price. Now that the customer understands our value, it's time to determine through a series of need satisfaction questions whether we have a solution that will resolve our prospects' issues, difficulties, or goals. This is the foundation of the sale, and what we learn here will be our blueprint for moving forward. Sales is not about trying to sell your goods and services. It's about listening to the prospect, finding out what they need and want, and then showing them something that's most closely matched to this. Taking what we've just learned in discovery, it's time to present the product or service that we believe is the best match for our customer. And even though this is the path of least resistance, you'll still need good presentational skills so you can show everything is a match. In this step, we'll cover various skills and techniques that will ensure our sales presentations are more appealing to the decision making right side of the brain. Finally, we'll ask for the sale, and when we get those inevitable no's, we'll learn a simple framework to best handle any objections, and we'll also cover some of the most common stalls and objections that we're likely to meet. This course comes with an accompanying 4D selling sales book and practice activities throughout the course that will better help you with fitting in what you sell into the sales process. If you're looking for a clear, concise, and effective way to learn how to sell, then this Selling Today course could be the ideal product for you. This is a tried and trusted sales process that has literally helped thousands of salespeople to learn how to sell. Here are some clips from this course that will give you an even better idea of what you can expect. Now the third one I have for you is a thing called pattern interrupt. Now the good news right now, we should be at a stage where we're sounding less robotic and less salesy, which is definitely going to help get us into conversation. But despite this, we need to learn a technique that's going to allow us to disrupt those I'm busy or send me or post my email that we're likely to get. Now to do this, we need a pattern interrupt. Now a pattern interrupt is designed to cause the other person to take a moment and think about the response instead of one of those reflex responses that I just mentioned. Now to do that, we're going to use a technique called ADA, which is Anchor, Disrupt, and Ask. And it goes something like this. Hi Mary, it's Paul Fergus from Selling Today. Did I catch you in the middle of something? She says, look Paul, I'm busy. Mary, that's exactly why I called. I figured you would be. So I just want to find a time that's more convenient for you. How about we get together next Wednesday at 3 p.m? So let's look at this again and see ADA at play. Mary said, look Paul, I'm busy, which of course is her reflex response. And then I said, Mary, that's exactly why I called. And this is kind of my anchor. This enables me to kind of hang in there. And then I said, I figured you would be, and I want to find a time that's more convenient for you. So this acknowledges that I know she's busy right now, but it also disrupts the pattern by asking her to think about a more convenient time. Then I quickly added, how about we get together next Wednesday at 3 p.m. instead? And this is my ask, and this is an assumptive request from me. So welcome to value proposition, the third step of the selling process. Now there's a golden rule in sales that states in the absence of value, price becomes the issue. So if your client doesn't see the value in you or your proposal, then you're always going to get beaten up in price. Now the purpose of this step is to build as much value as possible so we can tip the scales in our favour. So if a prospect ever asks you, why should I buy off you as opposed to somebody else? How would you answer this? Well, you could say, we got great customer service, or we've been around a long time, or we have a good price, or even, hey, you get me as part of the bargain. Now there's essentially kind of two things that are wrong with this. So first is the answers you're given are pretty lame. So from a prospect's point of view, they're kind of a real so what moment for them. So what if you got a great customer service? So what if you got a good price? I can get them anywhere. And the second problem with this is the prospect had to ask the question. Because in real life, you can count your lucky stars how often this happens. Because prospects will actually think it, but they never actually articulate it. So to be effective with a value proposition story, first of all, you got to raise it yourself. So you pretty much at the start of the presentation is, look, before I give you a price on this, let me tell you how we're different from everybody else. And of course, it should genuinely resonate with your prospect. Now, it's not easy to make it resonate, otherwise everybody would be doing it. But one thing that I have learned over the years is that what we believe is important to a buyer is never to say what they think. So for example, when salespeople are surveyed, they believe that price is the most important factor for buyers. However, when buyers are surveyed, price was a factor, but it wasn't actually the main thing. Buyers said that they valued fairness, solid information, flexibility, creativity, options, and trust above cost. So if you take time to peel back that onion, this is remarkably similar to what buyers wanted from salespeople. So that confidence, character, and trust. Now don't get me wrong, price might be important to get you on the shortlist or a seat at the table. But having the lowest price is not going to be the be all and end all when your client actually understands your value. Welcome to discovery, which is the fourth step of the selling process. Now, discovery is the process that we go through to determine if we have a solution that will resolve our prospects' issues, pains, or goals. And this is the foundation of the sale. And what we learn here is going to show us what our best strategy will be going forward. So when I started out in sales, my trainer used to sit down with me and review any of the leads that I took. And he wasn't trying to check to see if the leads were filled out properly, with names and telephone numbers, etc. What he really wanted to know is what the prospect needed and what the prospect wanted. And because he had taught me a process of asking a particular series of questions, and the answer to these questions would help determine what the best course of action would be. So a bit no different than maybe how a doctor diagnoses a patient. And this, of course, was a real light bulb moment for me, because sales wasn't about me trying to sell my wares. It wasn't kind of like, here's the product and these are the benefits that come with it. It was really about me listening to my prospect, finding out what their needs and wants were, and then showing them something that most closely matched this. Essentially, it was about letting the customer buy. Now, as time went on, I developed into a great salesperson. And I was often asked what the strongest part of my game was. Was it my closing? Was it my follow-up? Or was it even my prospecting? And I always gave the same answer. And that was my ability to be able to discover what my prospect needed and wanted, and then using this information as a blueprint for the sale. Now don't get me wrong, some prospects know what they want, and I'm more than happy to take care of them. However, there are plenty of prospects out there who don't know what they're looking for. And if you have a process that can take them by the hand and show them this, then you're halfway home towards making the sale. Now, there was 5 categories that I learned that would help me uncover my prospects' buying criteria. And that was needs, wants, authority, cash, and DBM. So let's cover the first category, which is needs. And they say that needs, if you can't satisfy a prospect needs, then generally this is going to be a deal breaker. So for example, if you sold real estate for a living and you had a client that had a family of 5, then they're probably going to need a house with a minimum of 4 bedrooms. Now, another example of a need is, say one of the family members works from home and needs a good internet connection. And without this, they can't continue on to work from home. So there's no point trying to put them out in the country somewhere where there's no internet connection. You've got to be able to satisfy this need. But whatever your prospect's needs are, they must be satisfied. And you've got to treat them like red lines. Don't try and fit a square peg in a round hole. You're going to save yourself a lot of time and energy, and your prospects won't lose faith in you either. Now, the second category I was taught to look for was wants. Now, wants are nice to have and could motivate a prospect to buy. So for example, let's say the same real estate prospect needed a minimum of 4 bedrooms, but actually wanted a 5th bedroom with an ensuite for when guests stay over. So having this option could cause the prospect to buy. However, it meant that they went over their budget, they may just take it off their lists. So wants are great and they can definitely help, but people will actually be flexible when it comes to this. Now, the third category is authority. And what we're trying to figure out here is, are you dealing with a decision maker? Because there's nothing more frustrating than spending a lot of time and your energy with a prospect only to find out they aren't a decision maker. You end up just spinning your wheels. So once you can determine who the decision maker is, then of course you can plan accordingly. The fourth category is cash. And this essentially means, what does your prospect ideally want to pay? And this could be a cash price because they got some money burning a hole in their pocket. It could be a monthly payment, which is more often the case. Or maybe some sort of special terms. So maybe you're in the B2B world and your prospect needs it basically on credit for 60 days so they can cut down on their floor plan. And there are a couple of things you need to keep in mind when it comes to cash. A prospect can become very flexible with their budget if they see the value in what you offer. So unless you know otherwise, like this is their max loan approval, then you should always treat the given budget as a guide. Or sometimes prospects give you an unrealistically low budget number because they believe if they gave you a higher one, then you'll try and take full advantage of this. Then finally we move into the 5th category, which is DBM, which stands for dominant buying motive. And this is defined as the single most reason it's going to cause a prospect to buy. And this one is sometimes hard to learn, but if you keep your ears open, you might figure it out, because sometimes it could be as simple as instant gratification, or just having precisely what they want in stock. But whatever it is, it can be extremely powerful at getting a deal over the line.